Hey folks, George here. Today we're going to continue our discussion on moral and ethical questions around the treatment of animals and or the environment. Last time we talked about Peter Singer's article, All Animals Are Equal, where he argued that we should give so much more moral consideration to the suffering that animals experience. Thus, he concludes, we should probably stop eating animals if we can survive reasonably well without causing that suffering. And we should also stop experiments, scientific experiments on animals, if they are not really bringing much benefit. Today, we're going to examine an article by Cohen entitled The Case for Use of Animals in Biomedical Research. This is going to be a direct response to Peter Singer's article, of course. Cohen starts by suggesting there are two common arguments against the morality of animal research. First, it violates the rights of animals. The second popular argument is that it causes avoidable suffering. Cohen is going to argue that both of these arguments are unsound. They are bunk arguments. Let's start with the first one. He starts right away. He says animals have no rights. Animals have no rights. Let's back up a little bit. Let's consider the definition of a right. A right is a claim that one party might claim against another party. There's three qualities of rights. One, who holds the right? Two, against whom is it held? And three, to what is it a right? Let's consider all of that right now. In order to claim a right, according to Cohen, you need to be in a community of moral agents. Only moral agents are beings who can make moral claims. Most of Cohen's ideas here are stemmed from Kantian deontological ethics, as are most discussions about rights. If we recall, Peter Singer did want to steer away from the discussion about whether animals had rights, specifically the right to life. He said, that's complicated. I don't want to talk about that, if we recall. Cohen here is focusing on this question, and whenever we hear a discussion about rights, we should probably think of or go back to Kantian concerns and Kantian insights and Kantian inspiration. Now, I've got a question really quick. What about babies and the mentally deficient? Doesn't that mean that they don't have rights? According to Cohen's definition, that you need to be in a community of moral agents? That's going to be odd. We'll talk about that. I think he kind of addresses that, but that's my first instinct right here, or my first thought. We'll consider that a little bit later, but please keep that thought in the back of your head, yeah? Okay, let's consider, what is it like to be a being with rights? Number one, you have free will. If you have rights, you have free will. Number two, if you have rights, you have reason. Number three, if you have rights, you have membership in some sort of organic community. Number four, if you have rights, you have a sense of self. And number five, if you have rights, you have some notion of morality. Humans have all of this. Animals have none of it. Animals do not have free will. Animals do not use reason. Animals are not members in our organic community. Animals don't have a sense of self, and animals don't have a notion of morality. According to Cohen, of course. After all, just because something is alive doesn't mean that it has a right to life. Even Peter Singer grants that regarding plants. right? He's okay with eating plants. They are just as alive as you and me and animals. But plants don't have a right to life. So it's not merely being alive that gives you a right to life. You need certain qualities to have rights. By the way, I worry, this is me talking now, forgive me for stepping out a second. I worry if Cohen is setting up a straw man, because after all, nobody thinks that animals have all the same rights that we have, right? At least Singer doesn't. So is Cohen setting up a sort of straw man? That's for you to consider, and as we examine more of his article. But all that said, Cohen wants to say, fine. That still doesn't mean that we can do anything we want to animals. However, treating animals humanely does not entail that animals have rights, the same as humans have rights. So Cohen predicted that I would have a problem with this, since I've already, and we've already discussed Peter Singer's article, right? That I asked, wait, what about the mentally deficient? Carl Cohen predicts that problem, and he has a response. Those people who have severe mental impairments, right, they're unable to perform to the fullest of their capabilities due to some disability, but they are not excluded from our moral community. After all, even though they have this severe mental impairment, they still retain that human quality when they are disabled. However, animals never had any such capability or any such consideration. Carl Cohen II considers another objection. Well, wait a second. Some animals seem to be moral and have such capabilities, don't they? Okay, wait a second. Yes, even though some animals seem to reason and communicate, there's more to it than just that. They don't have autonomous morality in the fundamental sense, Cohen says. After all, guilt requires a guilty mind. That's why animals can't commit crimes. It's nonsense to say that a lion has a right to eat a zebra, or that the zebra has a right not to be eaten. The third objection that Cohen considers is Singer's point that animals suffer pain. Okay, clearly that's obvious. Animals do suffer pain. However, it isn't true, according to Cohen, that animals thus have equal moral standing. Singer is obviously right about racism and sexism and those sorts of prejudices. Those are abhorrent. Why? Because there are no relevant differences between the races. There are no relevant differences between the sexes. But come on, there's a world of difference between the species, Cohen says. Humans have all of those moral capabilities that animals don't have. Humans owe each other moral considerations. Animals can't do that at all. But let's respond a little bit deeper to Singer's arguments Cohen wants to do. Even if it's true that animal pain is of equal consideration to human pain, or at least we should give moral consideration to animal suffering, fine. But, Singer, you're the utilitarian, right? As a utilitarian, we have to weigh the benefits versus the suffering. There are many scientific achievements that are only gained through animal research, Cohen claims. We must consider the benefits to humans and the suffering of animals due to animal research. We have to weigh the benefits versus the suffering. To maximize the benefits to humans, we must continue animal testing, right? Even as a utilitarian, Singer, you have to admit that. You have to admit that. As a matter of fact, as a utilitarian, you would have to say, Cohen believes, that we're obligated to test on animals. After all, killing animals for food, killing animals for clothes, killing animals for shelter is considered reasonable by most people. If that's true, then it must also be reasonable to make animals suffer and kill animals for scientific experiments, according to Cohen. And that concludes Michael Cohen's article. But I'm going to leave with one consideration, one philosophical consideration that I'm still wrestling with. It seems that both Singer and Cohen here are making empirical claims about the effectiveness of animal research. I got to tell you, I don't know which one is right, but I don't think you should merely listen to a philosopher to come up with the answer to that question. Singer says, no, it's not effective. Cohen says, yes, it is effective. Well, there's an answer to this question, and the answer must be given not by some philosophical armchair thinking, but rather by empirical research. Go ask the scientists. Mrs. Scientist, is your animal testing actually benefiting human beings? Explain. See you next time. Bye-bye.